What is crack-a-lackin', ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Mark Roden, but it's Mark Roden with a cold. And we all love 90s cars, okay? Like, 90s cars are cool as hell. Like, I feel like 90s are the coolest era for cars. Like, every company was just like, hey, here's some cool cars in the 90s, and it's awesome. But a lot of the 90s cars are expensive, but not all of them. Not all of them, buddy. As a matter of fact, 12 of them aren't. There are a lot more that are under $10,000. But today we're going to be going over my 12 favorite cars that are under $10,000 that were built in the 90s. In order from my least favorite to favorite. If you want to support the channel, head on over to www.smoothstance.com/shop to pick yourself up a hat, shirts, or shorts. And with that out of the way, let's actually get into the video. All right, so numero number 12 is the Mercedes. Numero number 12. That's number twice. It's the Mercedes E320 W124. The W124 Mercedes are absolutely sick, and this one came with a 3.2 liter inline six that made 217 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. These freaking cars are awesome. Everything about these W124 Mercedes are amazing. I love them. They were extremely luxurious for their time, high-class cars for their time. People that were driving these were freaking ballers. Nowadays, though, they're dirt cheap, and we can pick them up all day. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, Mark, there's no way every car on this list is going to have more than 217 horsepower and be rear-wheel drive. Like, that's just such a good combo. And you'd be right. But every other car on this list came available with a manual option. The Mercedes didn't. That's why it's number 12. Number 11 is the Mazda Miata NA. You knew it was coming, baby. You freaking knew it was going to happen. Everybody in the world says the Miata is always the answer, and it's true. It's a great car. It comes with a 1.8 liter inline four that makes 135 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. And now that may not be the highest horsepower number out there, and you're right. You know, they're not that fast. It's a freaking Miata. You're not supposed to go fast. You're not going to beat Camaros or Mustangs with a Miata, but they corner like a beast. They're like a freaking little go-kart. They look cute as shit. They have huge aftermarket support. They're extremely uncomfortable to drive. If you're over 6 feet, you probably can't even drive one in the first place. And they give you all the TikTok clout in the world, baby, so it's worth it. Now, I absolutely love the NA Miatas. I think you guys all know that. My friend had one. They're lovely cars. I actually love them so much. But everybody mentions them in their list, so I decided to put it a little bit lower so that it doesn't take up one of the higher spots. But just know that in my personal opinion, this car is definitely a top 5 car. It's just that everybody else mentions it, so I didn't want it to be in the top 5 for my list too. Number 10 is the Honda Civic EG. This is one of, if not the favorite generation of Civic for me. And it comes with a 1.6 liter inline four that only makes 125 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. This is before Honda was really making like Civics into like cool cars, you know, and they were just kind of making them as commuter cars. So 125 horsepower to them was fine. They didn't really care too much. But it was amazing because the people that slept on these Civics, that didn't know anything about the Civics, were like, oh, they're pissed slow. And then the people that were like, oh, I know how much horsepower that engine can truly handle. We're picking these things up left and right and it's just making insane power out of them. And it's still to this day like that. Like, people still underestimate Civics. So if you want to have like a sleeper car, pick yourself up an EG Civic. Also, like I said before, it is one of my personal favorites. I just love the simplicity of it. Number 9 is the Toyota MR2 SW20. We just talked about this car in last video. That's why I didn't want to put it super high on this list either. But it comes with a 2 liter inline four that makes 135 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive. And due to this car being mid-engined and rear wheel drive, and a 90s car that you couldn't really perfect, you know, how to balance a car back then, it had a little something called snap oversteer. And in case you don't know, snap oversteer is what it sounds like. It's oversteer, but it's snappy. It's snappy AF. No, but what really happens is apparently if you're going into a corner and you have your foot on the gas, if you let off the gas, it's going to oversteer and spin out. And you don't like that. And it's a very hard skill to master if you're new to driving. So I want to put it out there right now. If you are a new person and you're looking at like an MR2 for your first car, probably a pretty bad choice. But anybody else, the MR2 is sick. If you can master it, it is an amazingly good handling car. It is just such like a, you have to really connect with this car and learn this car in order to master it. But once you do, it's worth it. Number 8 is the freaking Volkswagen Corrado. What? Mark, the Volkswagen Corrado? You never talk about this car. I know I don't, and I really should start talking about it because it's freaking awesome. It comes with a 2.8 liter V6 that makes 178 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. And the looks of the Corrado are just absolutely mind-bogglingly amazing, dude. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Corrados are one of the best-looking Volkswagens, if not the best-looking Volkswagen ever built. It is such a good-looking car. It's awesome. Lowering these things looks awesome. It has a very highly tunable engine in it. It's a freaking Volkswagen. It's obviously going to have a highly tunable engine in it. And it is hard to find these under 10K. But it can be done. Okay, I looked it up. I made sure that I wasn't dead wrong, and they are pretty expensive cars, but they're not, you know, stupid money cars. You can get a, you know, beater one for under $10,000, and I think you should. They're freaking cool. Number 7 is the 3rd generation Chevy Camaro SS. And this freaking puppy came with a 5-liter V8 that made 170 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, Mark, 170 horsepower in a 5-liter V8 is pretty bad. And I agree. It is not great, okay? And it's not even that great of a motor either that's in the actual car. You're probably going to have to swap it. A lot of people swap LSs into these 3rd-gen Camaros, and that's what they do, and they make big power out of them. Probably going to have to do that. But if you can do that, it's an amazing car. Also, the car was light, at least, you know, light in the terms of muscle car light. It was still heavy, but lighter on the side of muscle cars. And so 170 horsepower felt a little bit faster than 170 horsepower in like a Camaro today. Yes, they're not fastest. They're not the fastest on this list. They aren't the craziest power, but they look really cool. They have that retro styling to them. It's very hard to find these clean though, but it can be done. Number 6 is the Ford Mustang GT Foxbody. This car comes with a 5-liter V8 that makes 205 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. Once again, same deal. The only reason, so the Chevy Camaro 3rd gen and the Ford Mustang GT Foxbody, the 90s were not the best era for muscle cars due to the gas crisis. They were, you know, kind of getting thrown to the side due to all these Hondas taking over, and they suffered a little bit. But both these cars, I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but both these cars are LS swap platforms, all right? I'm sorry, Foxbody guys are like, no, bro, I build the motor. 9 times out of 10, they're swapping LSs in them. You buy a junkyard LS for either one of these cars, and you can have fun with it. The motors that are in both these cars are not great. I just want to put that out there. They're drag platforms. They're old 90s dirt cheap cars. What is going on outside? Old 90s dirt cheap cars that you can swap an LS in and go zooming and get all the adrenaline in the world, and I love that. Personally, I like the Foxbody a little bit better. That's why I put it above the Camaro. Number 5 is the 4th generation Honda Prelude SI. Yes, that was a thing. It comes with a 2.3 liter inline 4 that makes 190 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. This is around the same time that the EG Civic was being made, and so this car had freaking 65 horsepower more than the top trim of the EG Civic. I don't understand why people don't buy Preludes as much as they buy Civics, but they're freaking sick. Obviously, since I put the Prelude a little bit higher, I like it better than the Civic, and there's a lot of reasons to that. One is obviously the looks. Personally, I think the Prelude looks amazing. It looks super sporty. It looks like a sportier version of an Accord, if that makes any sense, and I like that. Second is the engine. You have 190 horsepower as opposed to 125 horsepower. Obviously, that's a lot better. And third is, I know a lot of people say like, oh, you can swap a Civic, any Civic motor into a Civic. Well, you can probably do that for a Prelude too. It's just that nobody does because nobody buys Preludes. Number 4 is the Toyota Supra Mark III 3rd generation Toyota Supra. It comes with a 3-liter inline 6 that made 200 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. That is the engine that we got in the Americas, okay? And it's not the turbo one. So you're not going to find a turbo Mark III Supra for under $10,000, and all the other ones were the ones that were over in Japan. So before you comment like, that's not the right motor, it's the only one that's under 10K, buddy. And it's still a good motor. I mean, 200 horsepower, I'm pretty damn sure this is a 2JZ, just naturally aspirated. And if that's the case, these motors can handle up to like 500, 600 horsepower reliably, and that's plenty. Now, one thing is, you never see Mark III Supras modified, ever, and it just blows my mind. They look awesome. They have pop-up headlights. They are just so, like, they're one of my favorite, like, retro-style JDM cars ever. I think they look amazing. They're awesome, and it just kind of sucks that nobody ever really modifies these things, because they are such a cool car. Like, do that, please, and then send me pictures. Third place is the BMW 328i E36. This puppy comes with a 2.8 liter inline 6 that makes 190 horsepower. Oh god, and it was rear-wheel drive. Everybody in the world says that the E36 is one of the best starter sports cars right now. I would actually have to disagree with that, only because the E46 exists. Okay, I would have to say the E46 is a better option, but the E46 wasn't built in the 90s, so we're gonna pick with the E36 today. And the E36 is still awesome. It's a really good platform for drifting. They are getting up there in price, so you're gonna want to get one pretty soon. People are starting to want these a lot more than usual, so you're gonna want to get one, but there's still plenty out there. You can still find a clean one for under $10,000. Just be patient with these cars. A lot of people, like I said, they like to drift them, so a lot of the times when you're going to buy one of these cars, they're going to be drifted. So just be patient, and you will, I promise, find find a 328i E36 for under $10,000. That's actually worth it and super clean. But if you do manage to find one, absolutely buy it. It's an amazing car. They look great. They freaking sound great. They have a pretty decent tuning potential on the engine. Nothing crazy though. And they're comfortable. They're an old BMW. Second place is the Nissan 300ZX Z32. I love Nissans. I am the biggest Nissan fanboy in the world. And so, of course, you knew it was going to be in second place. It comes with a 3-liter V6 that makes 222 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. Now, what the Z32 is probably, I would argue, is the most popular Z car ever built. But that doesn't mean that it's super overpriced anymore, or right now. It is actually still, you can find these under 10K all day, every day. A lot of people think that the twin turbo one is the only one that they ever built of the Z32, and that's not the case. They have plenty of naturally aspirated Z32s out there that are under $10,000 all the time. These cars are, once again, a lot of times people like to try and modify these things and they turn them into projects. And so just be careful when going to pick one of these up. They have been probably touched. If it looks like it's been touched too much, stay away from it because it's going to be a nightmare. And working on the engine of a freaking 300ZX, you might as well just go to sleep, bro, because it's not gonna happen. Working on the engine bay sucks. I will say that. This isn't like a, this isn't really a car for like somebody that wants it as their first car. I would probably steer clear from the Z32 for your first car. But first place is none other than the Porsche 944 Turbo. I bet you didn't see this one coming, to be honest, and even I didn't see this coming, but it well deserves the first place spot. It comes with a 2.5 liter turbocharged flat 4 that makes 250 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive. That obviously is the highest horsepower number on this list. But even if you don't care the most about horsepower numbers and you're just like, well, this horsepower number sucks, this car is the only car on the list that came with a turbo. It is also a Porsche, so it was engineered beautifully and engineered to actually handle like a race car. It is most likely, I'm not sure, you're gonna have to fact check me on this one, but it's most likely the fastest on this list in terms of like actual lap times. It does not have the highest like tuning potential on this list by no means. It's probably one of the lowest on this list. So if you are into like the whole building your car up and making it a tuner, probably stay away from the Porsche 944, but everything else is just absolutely amazing on the car. It's a freaking Porsche with a freaking turbo, and it's under $10,000, and it has pop-up headlights, and it makes 250 horsepower, and it's rear-wheel drive. Everything is awesome about it. I personally don't really like the looks too much, I will say that, but everything else checks the boxes, and I can't be biased towards looks. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more. Unfortunately, I can't really give you guys a long outro today because A, I feel sick, and B, I'm going out with my friends soon. So thank you guys very much for watching. I love you guys. All the support we've been getting is amazing. You guys mean the world to me, so thank you guys so much. I promise more Z content is coming. We have to fix up the last 2 things, and then it'll be on the road. I'm just being so lazy with it right now. I feel I'm such an idiot. I have to get down there and work on it, But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.